Hello, hello, and welcome to Talk About It Tuesday. I'm so excited to be here live from Mexico City. I'm Tosca, founder of Tosca Coaching and Consulting, and I'll be here today talking to Gianmarco, who's a dear friend of mine. And for those of you who are joining who are new, what I do is I talk to all kinds of different people to get different perspectives for my Talk About It Tuesday show in order to help with you living your best life with your personal development. And so I really believe in hearing the stories of the messy middle that we all go through from getting from where we are to where we want to be. And so today's topic is how to embrace your dark side. So with that, I'm going to bring on my guest for the day, who's also in Mexico City, by the way. Hello.
Hi. Hi again.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you very
So
much,
good to
Tosca, for
be here with you.
it's I'm very excited to be here with you also. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like we met several years ago. We've stayed in touch, and then over the past couple of days have just had the privilege and honor to spend more time with you in person here in Mexico City. And and it makes it even more special to have this conversation, to have been in your vibe and to have had some awesome conversations. So thank you
Mm.
for taking the time to do this. I know you're a busy dad, a busy restaurateur, so time is valuable for sure.
Thank you for the time. Actually, it's actually my first time transmitting something live and talking about well this subject that has been always part of my life. So thank you for the time and thank you for this space. Yeah.
Mm, my pleasure. I'm excited to talk about this topic and hear from you about what it means to you. So I'll just pass it over to you to share what you want the audience to know about who you are, where you come from, like
hmm
whatever you want to share about, you're getting to this moment.
hmm Okay, yeah. Well, where should I start? I since I was a little child, or since I was like 7 years old, I was like intrigued in what God represented in my life. I had some questions always, like not profound questions, but basically, I can talk about a story. I came to the church, and my father and my mother weren't that fond of religion. Basically, they did what they needed to do socially to do the acceptance and whatever was needed. I was brought like a Catholic,
Mhm.
and when I was 7 years old, I went to the church. And one of the questions I asked myself is, why do I need to talk to God through another person, right? Like, why is there another person who is going to tell me what to do instead of talking with God directly? It's something like that when I was 7 years old, and that like that thought built in my heart, like that need to talk. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Uh, to talk to God in it was like it didn't make sense to me somehow. So after that, when my father and my mother got divorced, my mother started really looking for God in her life in a very direct and very important way. And she started looking through metaphysics.
Mm.
She started looking. She went to the ascended masters, and she started decreeing, and she started talking about the power of the word, of the spoken word. And well, basically, since I was 9 years old, I had all that inflection of her looking for God, looking for a better world, looking how to create a different consciousness in mankind or something. Yeah, it was basic. And she always invited me, and I said, no, I don't want to go.
Mm.
Like she would invite me to decree, and I said, no, no, I'll hear you from here. I was in bed and I was growing up, and but somehow now that my mom passed away in 2013, um, somehow that all that energy, all that love she was looking for in God, and how to create a different consciousness in the world is in my heart right now, and that for sure in my growing up made a lot of difference in me looking for my own path and my ways, basically. So yeah. Um, when everything started, I'll do it quickly. Everything started for me in my path. I read a book about Osho, and it was called Being a Man. There's a book calling Being a Man, and basically I started reading that book, and when I started reading the book, it was like, oh my God, everything that he is saying in this book is my interior, everything that I haven't said, everything that I haven't shared, everything that I can't say to anyone, or I thought I couldn't say to anyone, it was there. So it made a lot of difference. I looked for a space here in Mexico. I was in the Osho Center in Mexico when I was 26. I was studying psychology. I did a master's in family therapy, but also I started doing this, and I did 3 workshops that changed my life completely around. Like I started to meditate in an active way, because Osho had it like I didn't understand in that moment what meditation was, but I started to meditate in an action way. So it like and I started to see that there was some kind of calm part of me that I wasn't aware of, you know. It was shocking to me that I went to live to India. I wanted to see what all this was about. So I went to now it's called the resort, the meditation resort of Osho, which is in Pune in India. I came to the place, and basically one of the important thing of that stay was how I could relate to other people, because I was very in my interior, like um, I didn't know how to really relate to people, for sure. It was like I was shy. I was in my and somehow Osho started to give me that opportunity to open myself and to dance. There's a lot of movement involved, and that was my at 27 years old, I really like popped out into searching for God. In India, I went to a place called, from Pune, I went to Chennai, which is down northeast. And then I went to a place called Tiruvannamalai, which was, it's a sacred place where there's a sacred mountain that I found out through Rakshita, which is a friend of my mother in San Cristobal de las Casas here in Chiapas. And I came in her house before I went to India, and I said, can you give me some pointers? Because you were a sannyasin of Osho. Could you please tell me what to do? And I saw, she started talking about Osho and how her experience was with Osho. And I saw this photograph of this mountain called Arunachala. And it was like a magnet. I was like, what is that? And she said, well, this is Arunachala. This is a sacred mountain in the south of India. And beside this photograph was Ramana Maharashi. And he had these crystal eyes, like he could see me. I don't know, you see saints in India and you see their eyes, and it's like, oh my God, he's seeing through me. Like it's like so direct. And I said, who is that? It's Ramana Maharashi. So I inquired a little bit of a Ramana Maharashi, and after being in Osho Center, I came down to Tiruvannamalai to Ramana Maharashi's ashram, and it was an amazing experience of somehow of consciousness. It's a place where I started to really understand there was a different space in me that I didn't know there was, that I didn't I hadn't accessed before, you see. And I was there for 4 months actually,
And you were
and
in your 20s, you said.
27.
Okay, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, 27. So yeah, some days ago. And when when I came back to Mexico after all this experience in India, the wife of my father, Martha, invited me to get together with a teacher which is called Arnaud Desjardins, which is he was a teacher from France. He passed away in 2011, and I had the grace to meet him. He had so much peace in him, and so much presence, and so much love, and basically that's where I understood that I was seeking for a teacher in my life, like
Mm.
for a formal teacher to guide me through my life, you know. And after meeting this Arnaud Desjardins, I through the gets together in different timing in 2006, then 2007, 2008, I met my teacher here long time afterwards, and I became his student 3 years ago. So basically, I have a teacher whose name is Purna. Um, I've been his student for 3 years now, and yeah, so that's pretty much my journey into spirituality and how to bond my spiritual life with my life, or how to create a spiritual life in a daily everyday. And it has been rough. It has been quite a journey to not understand, to really live the practice,
Mm.
to live who um, well all that the practice offers you, you know. And yeah, I mean it's still it's a journey which is, I don't think there's a never it's an end, a never ending story actually. It's every day I I understand something different about myself, about the where we are, about. And yeah, I mean, it's one of the things I can say in this moment is basically how this work has brought me to more compassion for myself,
Mm.
like to be more compassionate with myself, be more soft with myself. Sometimes I want to kill myself, actually, right? It's like, but when this happens, I have a little bit more space in me that creates the opportunity to not be a reaction, like not to react in a violent way to myself, or not react to other people like shouting. Or sometimes I can, sometimes I'm. It's a step by step. It's a baby step journey, actually.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing your journey. I think it's important for people to hear, um, because we all have had different paths, and so part of it is like exposure to just how, how did you come to explore what you explored. And the theme the word that keeps popping up for me as you're sharing is expansion. It's like you've always had, it sounds like you've always had this desire to expand,
Mhm.
this desire to explore, uh, desire to even understand what is beyond yourself in a
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that a lot of people, well, I think especially in the States, I think that you know there's a lot of folks who haven't had much religious exploration,
Mhm.
or maybe there was when they were young, and then they grew, and then it's harder to find to get exposure to different options and different ways of
Mhm.
finding your path.
Mhm.
And for you, as you got older,
Mhm.
right, and you were doing this work at 27, like what was the impetus for that? Like, were you not happy? Was it like you felt like something was missing in your life? Like,
Hmm.
what made you a seeker, especially as you kind of got older?
Um, I I didn't. I started looking for God because somehow, since I was a child, I didn't understand. I felt isolated.
Mm,
Like I didn't really understand the ways
mm,
of how to interact. Or I remember everything started like one of the things is how to I don't want to feel this pain anymore. You know, it's
mm,
like there's a lot of pain, and everything started, I think, when my father and my mother divorced.
mm,
That was like uh, a very important moment for in my life. And one of the things is basically how to deal with my pain,
mm,
how to deal with my pain, how to be one. Not, it sounds romantic, but how to be one with my pain, like how
mm,
to not just go unleashing all my pain to myself and to others, which uh, I'm every day working with that because it's
mm,
that's for me that's the work. It's and that's how I understand how to break my dark side is basically because socially and family wise it's always you need to show your best self, you know.
mm,
Need to you need to put your masks of
mm,
who you want to be or and this creation of character actually it's like I
mm,
and how to put everything under the rug like okay I'll shove this in the rug,
mm,
no one sees it, no one sees that I can sometimes be a very angry person, you know, or I'm not that sweet, and you know,
mm,
and how to how to say it's okay,
mm.
you're human. Um,
Yeah.
and also it's like in that I had this wonder of please I want to be the best guy I can. I want to shine. I want to look for that brilliance or that love or whatever. And I want to get away of all this shit I have in my life. And now I'm understanding that all that shit is really on the other side of all that shit. There's truth
Mm,
for me. You see,
mm,
it's like there's real, there's real spirituality somehow, and I didn't understand that before. I was like looking for to be the perfect student, and
mm,
the you know, and I had this thought of what spirituality is and how I'm almost illuminated, you know, like no, and it's it's more now in how to understand that I'm a human being and that we're in this world and it it's it's part of who we are in this dual. If there's light, there has to be darkness, and there's
mm,
not light. It's not that I want to be light and there's no darkness in my life, you know. It's like how to comprehend my darkness, how to embrace, like how to
mm,
not to justify,
mm.
right? Because there are laws, right? There's karma, right? I don't believe in good and bad. I believe in karma. I believe that everything is to this is a realm or this is a space or this is a world to to learn who we are. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the learning of who you are, I just want to go back to what you were talking about in terms of mask, because
Hmm.
I think that because of society and what is deemed acceptable and what is deemed not okay and all of that, we learn, we learn to be a certain way. We learn to put on our certain face, um, in a way of self-protection, in a way of acceptance. And so I'm curious for you, like, do you know when you have your mask on? Like, is it ever present for you? Like, and how do you start to say, holy, like, who is the real me? Like, how do you, because I feel like there's some people that I interact with, which is like, I don't even think you know who you are,
Mhm.
and it's scary to me, and it's sad. So I'd love to hear more about what the mask is for you. Like, how do you, yeah, like, how do you work with that concept?
I came back to from India and I changed my name to Swarup, right? Uh, and I came to back to my mom, which in that moment I somehow, and I can say it now, I really discussed her. Like I didn't like her love because
Mm,
it was a needy love. Like
mm.
so I came back and she was saying to me like honey bunny, and I don't call me honey bunny, call me Swarup. And I don't want to be called like that. And it was like,
Mm,
and I understood, now I understand after all these years that I had somehow I always wanted to save my mom from her suffering.
mm,
Or I grew up and she in her ways she educated me to save her, you see.
mm,
Like she wanted to be saved, or she has her own story, and after all this journey I've now understood where she came from and what it represented in my life.
mm,
And all this me wanting that brilliance, and oh, I'm a good guy and blah blah blah. And there's all this other part of me, which is
mm,
the player, right?
mm,
That has always been there and has always uh, actually harmed people all the time. Um, and that's a way of defense, like you said before. It's like the way I defended myself is before I get hit, I hit you first, like
mm,
right in a way of so I would be this charming guy that I'm gonna save you and I want to be the best guy ever and blah 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 and all this shit going on, and underneath I didn't want to share anything with you.
mm,
I was so scared, and
mm,
somehow I'm still scared of sharing. I'm still scared of really not that much as before, but now it's like it's like it's becoming a sweet. Like, okay, what is there to share? I want to know you truly, right?
mm,
I want to know myself truly, who I am. It's
mm,
it's become a journey for me. Like I don't, and it pops up again. This player pops up all the time. This
mm,
player of yeah, this charming guy and this womanizer and this alcoholic guy and this blah blah blah, which all the restauranteer happening helps me in all that, working with that, and all this wanting recognition. There's a lot of, I can talk a lot of that, but basically it's being in the soul and understanding that there's a difference between personality and beliefs, and being in, when there's a spark in that moment where you're nothing but you're there, you're present with your breath. I don't know if that has happened for you. Like there are these moments where you feel completely alive
mm,
for an instant, and that's what I'm looking for.
mm.
That's what I'm looking for in me. And thank you for having me in this space, because that's how it's an expression of who we really are. And yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
I'm yeah, I'm not there yet, but I will never be there actually. That's
we are
that's an
always
important reminder.
Yeah, we're all works in progress, you know, and I think
That's
it's
right.
very brave and courageous for you to share where you are and what your journey is with that, and the struggle, especially, you know, I think as a male in society and a restaurateur, there's a whole, right, there's like a whole vibe there, right? There's like a whole
Hmm.
set of maybe even expectations about who you are at, you know, when you're a restaurateur. And likewise with any kind of industry, right? There's just kind of like a box that like, you know,
Hmm.
um, but I'm curious, right? Because you talked a bit about things you're not proud of or the ways that you are or as a player or these parts about yourself that maybe you're not proud of or that, you know, um, maybe you try to bring out less and less. And
Hmm.
so I'm curious, like, how do you, because we were talking about, like, how do you embrace your dark side? Like, how do you love that part of yourself? Like, how does that get integrated versus shamed and shunned? Because,
Hmm.
you know, it is when we shame ourselves, right? When we don't talk about things that we're not proud of, like that they get bigger in our lives,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So how do you how do you say, because to even like say yes, I have a player part of myself and I'm not proud of it, like, and it's there and it comes up, but like what's your practice, or how do you love that part of you even if you're not proud of it, you know, like what's your journey with that? Because I
There are days that I don't really love it. I actually I'm disgust about it, right? Because
Mm,
it's been there for so much time.
mm,
Like, but in this also being ashamed or a disgust or I'm so happy, it's just actually a reaction to
mm,
what is, you know.
mm,
When I became a Purna student, the first thing he said, "You're a fucking player." And I was, "What are you talking about? I don't understand."
mm,
Everything was unconscious, actually. It was like I
mm,
didn't really understand what he was talking about, and it has been like very. It's like the medial part of me in how to um, how, who am I gonna be if I haven't been? I've always been this guy.
mm,
I've always talked about women with my friends. I've always diminished women with my friends in that sense. And now I see another part, which is the sacred part of the women. How do
mm,
I sustain that?
mm,
One of the things that I came to me is basically seeing my daughter, you know,
mm,
and she's growing up to be a beautiful woman, and how to how to how to be a man of principle, of integrity, or
mm,
with her being an example. That's my motivation. You see, it's like um, how to be a and oh, but okay, I have a daughter, but I have this part which is addicted to porn,
mm,
right? You know, so I'm addicted to porn, but I'm looking for God in my life. But
mm,
I drink,
mm,
but I love women to see me,
mm,
which is my part of.
mm,
There's this need of my mother, you know, like uh, this I see you. Um, so how to integrate all that? You
mm,
know, it's not like, oh, it's separate.
mm,
That's the important thing of all this journey, all these things going on in my life. It's not that, okay, porn, I won't say anything to people because I've been addicted to porn since I was young, you know. That's a part of me which I could say I'm ashamed of, you
mm,
know. But okay, what is there behind that action? What am I longing for? I still I still don't understand,
mm,
but I'm looking, I'm searching, and one of the things, there's a beautiful book called Self-Observation by Red Hawk, which I really recommend to read. It's in Spanish and English. I don't know if in Italian, but it's basically a journey to take yourself and the meditation and just start seeing yourself without a judgment eye, just with present, and see your reactions and see who you're being in your own life all the time, and seeing how you feel, and just be with yourself, like in a non-judgmental way, and being when you can soft to yourself, because it's yeah, sometimes it's difficult, and how to integrate all these, as I say, all these aspects on my own personality, myself, or who I've been, going beyond that, and not running away from it, but also how to embrace that that I've been lonely all my life. I felt lonely all my life.
Mm.
That space where I've always felt like I'm in a room with my knees in my chest and like crying, and how to come to this space of myself and say it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. Everything is going to be okay. Mm.
It's such a beautiful share, because I think so many people feel lonely for much of their life, and where that comes from, like what we didn't get, and therefore what are we doing to get the love that we need and want, and it starts very young,
Mm-hmm.
and then those behaviors continue, and like you said, like this idea of observation, of being aware of, like, why am I doing this? Like it's like when we say to do the work, to me it's just a constant curiosity around, why do I choose this? Why do I say this? Why did that hurt me?
Mm-hmm.
you know and like you said, I think the hardest part of the work is to be in non-judgment,
Mm-hmm.
to say, yeah, this is what I do. I'm not proud of it, but it's what I learned to do at some
Mm-hmm.
point in my life, to survive at some point in my life, to
Mm-hmm.
feel the love that I needed, to, all of that. Um, and I think that the judgment just adds to our pain, because not only are we feeling the pain of a thing, but then we feel the pain of, like, somehow we're wrong, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever that is. So,
Yeah,
um,
to be part. Sorry that I interrupt. Just to say this, uh, they actually society or our ways in this life is basically to be part of a box of understanding who we are, and if you go out that box, then there's guilt. There's a lot of guilt in Western civilization, and it's like all this, after I'm feeling all this pain, and I feel guilty about all that shove thing going on. It's like, what do I do? Where do I go with this? And yeah, it's like I was talking to Carolina the other day, and it's like um, guilt is actually, I can really see it now. It doesn't take you anywhere. It's like, you see, there's it's only an energy. I don't know how to call it, an energy or something that just, it's like a basher. It's like, I want to I want to feel that, I want to bash myself. Okay, I want to feel. So it's going beyond that guilt, and um, it's like, I'm not proud of who I am, but this is who I am
mm,
in the eyes of God, because God sees everything, who you really are, and He embraces everything, and He loves you, who you are, completely. It's like, you need to be a good boy, then I'll love you. That's
mm,
that's all that going on in our society. You need to
right.
get good grades. You need to be the best in what you do, and blah blah blah, and all this and all this and all this, and that's how all the competition comes to our mindset, and I need to be better uh, for others, and I'm gonna be this, and we're not even. Why aren't you proud of who you are, even if you've done what you've done? It's like you're human. I mean, there are consequences, and there's consequences in your actions, but I mean, I don't know, there's so much pain in the world, actually. That's that's what I think there is, and so much um, there's so much pain action all the time, you see, and yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and when you say that, it makes me think of what you were saying earlier about having compassion for yourself. And, I think of you and, as you're a leader, you're a clear leader. You run a restaurant, with many employees. And, um, it just makes me think of, the idea of how can we be compassionate with others if we aren't compassionate with ourselves? Like, how can we have empathy for others if we're not empathetic with ourselves? And so, and not to mention, that's a very high stress, environment. So how do you hold all that
Hmm.
in situations where you're also you're taking care of others in many ways. You're taking care of your customers. You're also taking care of your employees. And um, so how do you manage? I imagine that can be very stressful at times.
Hmm.
So how does that all come together for you? That spiritual practice, that deep observation of yourself, while also being in service of others, and
Hmm.
it can be. I think it's a big responsibility, and there's not a lot of people, I think, that
Can I tell
see
you
it that way.
something?
Yeah.
Um, I still haven't found, and I'm really in the need to find how to be spiritual, because somehow I've always my spirituality, I've always kept it in the closet.
Mm.
Like I really don't talk about it. I somehow it's like I'm not proud of that. It's awful, but it's
Mm.
like I'm not proud of that. I don't want. No, it's not that I'm not proud of it. I don't want to be rejected.
Mm.
So I come to the restaurant, and now it's like I see like uh, actions of spirituality in my life all the time, but it's not. I'm a practitioner. I come forward in my life as a practitioner. How do you say it?
Practitioner.
A
Mm-hmm.
practitioner. Yeah. Like instead, it's like, okay, I leave my practice here, and then I become my friend. I don't want my friend to reject me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I
Mm.
drink with them. I talk about women and
Mm.
whatever, and all this social. So now one
Mm.
of actually this is one of my needs in this moment is how to be a spiritual man in my own life, and because I think I'm gonna lose everything if I start being
Mm.
spiritual. Like people are gonna abandon, which is part of my search also. Like I don't want you to abandon me, so I do what
Mm.
I do what I do what you need me to. I do what you want to see, so you
Mm.
don't abandon me, because I can't feel the pain of abandonment.
Yeah. I
So
I
I
totally
I
yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally resonate with that. I totally get that. And I think of so many people, and they don't necessarily know how to label it abandonment, but I
Mhm.
think it's one of the core wounds that people experience in life. Um,
Mhm.
and, I think what's really fascinating in what you shared, and thank you everybody for joining this conversation, how to embrace your dark side, that are entering the room. But what I was going to say was that, right, it's almost like a scarcity mindset. What will I lose
Mhm.
if if I let my true self out?
Mhm.
Um, versus what would I gain if I let my true self out? And it doesn't mean that there wouldn't be loss, right? Because I think you may lose friendships that are no longer at your vibration because
Hmm.
you've moved on from that. And not to say there's not grief involved, but um, I'm curious, like, what do you think would be possible for your life if you showed up as you wanted to be, not in the mask of you because of the fear
Hmm.
of abandonment, but like, but in this embodied state, you know?
Hmm. Um, I thought about that, Tosca, and um, I had a beautiful experience 3 weeks ago. Narasima came, which is I'll tell you shortly who he was. He is a student of he's a student of the guru of my guru. So,
Mm,
and there's a relationship there. And he came to Mexico and gave a workshop, and he does tankas. He does these amazing tankas of deities of India,
mm,
and that's how he survives in this world. In this like he sells these, and he offered me a tanka for the new restaurant that is coming. And one of the things that came to me was the blessing of giving food, like nurturing through food, and making a statement of blessing and love for all the people who are coming to the restaurant. And it's not just a business, which is
mm,
part of an abundance, and how to relate to abundance and all. That's another chapter of all this, but how to, that's one of my longings, is like to really make that space a sacred space to people nourished from the food, and to and that people who work with me really understand and open their hearts and really embrace people to come and see the restaurant as a home, because it's not only of making money, it's how to how to touch other people in a special way, in an authentic way. Like authentic is, we all are authentic. Like
mm.
there's a part of ours which is always authentic, and but I'm in that, I'm in the, I'm there. I'm looking for the answers of how to be, and
Mm.
how to. So thank you. Yeah.
Well, no, I appreciate your transparency on that. And what I heard in what you said, oh, and you can correct me if this isn't how you feel about it, but what I heard is that by tapping into your purpose and your mission, it's almost like that might be a way through to honor your truth. That's because I don't know if that feels true for
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
It's almost like a way to give yourself permission to be who you are because it's like, oh no, but this is the thing. This is what I do in the world. And so, right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like somehow it's like celebration. It's a
Mm,
celebration of who we really are. Um,
mm,
I there has been times that, okay, I don't want to be more. I can't be a restaurateur because it's so it's so lame. This is
mm,
not spiritual.
mm.
Alcohol is not spiritual. Food is not spiritual, and blah blah blah. And God or life is, no. You're a restaurateur. You're a restaurateur. You can't move from there. It's like, okay. No, I want to give workshops, and I want to be whatever, and nothing happened in that
Mm,
way, right? Or I'm a psychologist. I'll give therapy or whatever, and it's, no. You're a restaurateur, and you have to deal with that, and you need to embrace that, and you need
mm,
to really uh, understand the power of nourishing through food,
mm,
which I
mm,
understood when Narasima came 3 weeks ago. I didn't really understand that now, like how, since I've done this work, it's basically hugging people in the restaurant and saying thank you for coming, and really, really being happy for their presence there.
mm,
Um, yeah, that's so it's like now it's the way out. You're making it clear for me to basically um, trust in that, like
Mm.
trust in that tanka, which I don't have right now, but trust in that tanka, in that vision of just embracing all the time and all the time and all the time. And I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's scary. Look, and I think the same, I mean, same goes for, right? I do work in corporate world. I do,
Hmm.
career coaching work, right? And so I've also had to be on this journey of like, how much do I own um, that part of me that helps, that is in service, right? That part of me that might be taboo in those environments, right? But the thing
Hmm.
is that I think that in every environment, whether you call it spirituality, whether you call it understanding what's greater than yourself, whether you understand it, however you understand the concept, it's always there. We just don't name it. And I think part of it is out of fear. Part of it is
Hmm.
that, is this acceptable? Like,
Hmm.
who will ridicule me, or who,
Hmm.
all of those things. And I do believe that the work of our lives is continuing to honor the core of us, our truth, and be willing to be vulnerable in sharing that.
Hmm.
Because with vulnerability, right, is the fear of rejection. It doesn't come without risk. That's why
Hmm.
it's vulnerable, because you don't know how people will respond,
React. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, and and I think that, that's the scariest thing. It's the scariest thing to say, this is who I am, and this is what I believe, and then to be okay if the leaves change and who you're surrounded by shifts. And I think that happens to a lot of people. Um, but I can also say, sorry, I'm kind of going around here, but experience in D'Amico, your restaurant, in Polanco, Mexico City, I can clearly say, like, that's a spiritual experience. Like, that's an experience of belonging. That's an experience of feeling free in that room. You create that space
Hmm.
for, like, be who you are.
Hmm.
And whether you're doing that in an, you know, ashram, or you're doing that in a restaurant, it's just like you could probably access more people in a restaurant than you can in,
Yeah.
meditation retreats, if you're right. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's
What
interesting mindset.
it's how to I mean take all these taboos of spirituality, like taking all these taboos of spirituality and oh, you're spiritual when you're in the Himalayas, or you're spiritual when you go to an ashram, or whether you go to a meditation retreat, or you go to whatever. I mean, it's how to be spiritual in the shit
Mm. Mm.
of life
Yes.
all the time, all the
Yeah.
time. And who am I to
Mm.
judge other people? Who am I to impose uh, anything? But I mean, it's. I don't know. I think that for me, the only way out of this is uh, basic goodness,
Mm.
basic
Mm.
goodness, and basic goodness, and repeat it as a mantra all the time. Like being good to myself, being good to
Mm.
myself, being good to my. And sometimes I shout to my daughter and I say, okay, I shout to my daughter. Why did I shout to my daughter?
Mm.
And she comes up and she says, did you see how you treated me? And I'm like,
That
I'm
is
like,
you
okay,
teaching her
yes,
how to
I
do the
did
work.
see it. Yeah. And also seeing that Carolina is, I want Carolina to be a different parent to my children, and I'm not accepting who she truly is, and all the difficulties and whatever she has been through in this life. you know. And now I can get it that it's like it's so difficult for me because I'm struggling with it, and I see her, and I want you to be a better mother to them, and who am I, you know? It's like
Mm.
sometimes I come down and say, okay, who can I be? This pops in my head. I'm not doing it yet, but who can I be so I can reflect an ambience or a space where
Mm.
she can find for herself who she wants to, who she
Mm.
truly is.
Mm.
It's and not like this, yeah, you all the time, you know, which happens. It's part of
Yeah,
being
no,
married.
I absolutely, I think, yeah. Um, eh, I think what you're saying, right, is it just, I come back to this concept that I talk about all the time, which is you can only control yourself. You can only heal yourself.
Hmm.
And even though we may want healing for others, or we may see opportunities for others to live a happier, freer, whatever life, that we I think that part of the journey is and that's part of our dark side, right? Like, it's
Hmm.
how do we let go of feeling like we can uh, help other people. Other people can only help themselves.
Hmm.
And so this, it brings up the concept of rescuing, and how so many people have this, tendency to rescue. It's
Hmm.
part of the drama triangle, right? The
Hmm.
rescuer, the
Hmm.
persecutor, or the victim.
The victim. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And how do we get out of that and get out of that? Because that is when we are in our dark side, I think. We are
Hmm.
not our best selves when we play those roles with ourselves or with other people.
Hmm.
But going back to like that constant observation, I love that your daughter is like, "Hey, Dad," she's like, "Here's the mirror. Did you see what you did there?" Like, that's pretty badass. That's pretty.
And I'm like, okay, yes, I did see it. I did see it. And yeah, it's like, did you see how you shouted at me? Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
There is human like, well,
Um,
when we've gone, look, I think we've had this has gone in a lot of different directions, and again, like your truth and your honesty is so refreshing, and I think so important for people to hear, because we are imperfect beings. We
mhm,
do things we're proud of, we do things we're not, and
mhm,
it's all part of being human, like you said earlier.
mhm.
And I'm curious, for those who may watch this either now or later, what advice would you have for people who are like, yeah, like, I don't like this part about myself, but I don't know how to actually look at this differently than just beating myself up in whatever way people are beating themselves up?
Oh my God. I would say to them, beat yourself when you're beating yourself up. Um, remember, remember something, or draw out a little bit of your heart in that moment, because we're so entangled in beating ourselves up all the time that we didn't even see it. It's like a reaction all the time, and it's
Mm,
unconscious actually. So in that moment where you're completely enraged, or you're completely in sadness, or you're in a devastated state of whatever or whatever is happening in that moment, like, remember that you have a heart, that you're alive, and
mm,
and that God loves you.
mm. That's beautiful, beautiful advice. Yeah, and gosh, what you just said about we don't even know when we're beating ourselves up sometimes, like I definitely resonate with that. It's like, it's, it's crazy because, I've shared that I have type 1 diabetes, and so
Mhm.
you can look at numbers all day long and see how your numbers are doing.
Mhm.
And you can say, "Oh shit, my sugar's high. What did I do wrong?" Or,
Mhm.
"Oh, my sugar is low. What did I do wrong?" And I realized, like, this was like another tool for beating myself up.
Mhm.
And it's been a process of saying, there has to be another way of
Mhm.
not blaming myself for
Mhm.
something. much of which is out of my control. Some of it is in my control, but it was just one of those really subtle things. Oh crap, I'm using this as another way to beat myself up. So that's, I think with the audience, that's a question you can ask yourself, which is, what am I using in my life to judge myself or to beat myself up? And I think it's usually covering up. That's just that shadow work, this dark side, that shadow work. I think it's all in that same vein of how do we love ourselves more,
Hmm.
even just 1% at a time, just
Yeah.
bit by bit, because it's not going to be like, oh my God, like I spent years hating myself, and now it's like I'm in my self love, like oh my God, I love myself all day. No, it's like in my experience, it
No,
doesn't work that way.
I'm gonna say something which I think is true for me, it's true. The spiritual journey is a baby step every day,
Yes.
the practice of every day, and transformation is there, but it's there for us, and just be patient with yourself.
Mm,
It's like be patient, Gianmarco, with yourself.
mm,
I'm seeing how I'm being with myself right now. Be patient, be loving when you can. Please, 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 please
yes.
be patient, be patient. Don't there's nowhere to go but ourselves.
Mm,
There's nowhere to go but ourselves. It's not like you need why do I need to be another person? Why
yeah.
do I want to be another person? I have diabetes, okay. How do I deal with that with love? With like I need to be the nourishing person who is always very, very present with my with this that is happening with me. And I'm
Yeah.
very loving with that with me. You see? It's like
Yeah.
the adult part of us.
Yeah, and I love what you shared, and I think it's a great point to kind of wrap with, which is this work requires patience, and the baby steps do matter. And
Mhm.
reflecting on how far you've come is so important. As the clients that I work with, it's like they don't even see their own transformation sometimes because it
Mhm.
is so gradual. It's like, oh no, do you realize that 6 months ago you would not have made that choice for yourself? And that is transformation.
Of course.
Um, yeah,
And
so
it's amazing. It's actually really brilliant. Like, oh my God, did you see what you didn't do?
right.
You broke a pattern. Really,
Yes.
you did it. And it's like,
Yes.
wow.
We have to allow ourselves the grace of acknowledging, like when we
Mhm.
break the pattern, when we say, oh, I did this thing that actually serves me, and in the past I wouldn't have. I would have done some people pleasing thing or what have you.
Mhm.
Um, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, this was so fun. I feel like I could talk to you just for hours.
Thank you,
And
Tosca. Me
thank you
too, to
so
you. Me too.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for the space.
And just in closing, is there anything else that you feel like is in your heart to share in this moment?
Um, yeah, I think it's basic. It's bringing back everything that John Lennon said. The only thing we need is love.
Mm,
It's we really. That's the only thing we really need. And how to how to slowly, slowly, or fast if there's a fast way. I don't think so, but slowly, slowly encounter our self-love every
mm,
day for a bit, for a second, for a moment, every day, and not expect that other people are gonna love us the way we want us to be,
mm,
the way we want to be loved, because it's impossible.
mm.
It's impossible.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome. No,
and
thank you.
speaking of love, I'm just going to share with the audience this view of Mexico City. Such a pleasure to be here. Such a pleasure to share this city with you for these past couple days. And I look forward to coming back to your new location for Casa D'Amico in Polanco.
Yay!
Yes.
You're completely invited, and let's yeah.
I
Yeah.
cannot wait. I
Yeah,
cannot wait. You guys have to check it
you're a
out.
guest of honor. Yes.
Oh my gosh, you guys, please, if you come to Mexico City, you got to have dinner at D'Amico's. It's been around for 15 years, and
Mhm.
it ain't stopping anytime soon. They're moving to a beautiful new location. It's gonna be great. So
Thank you, Tosca, for
there's
everything.
the plug. Oh my God, thank you so much, and I hope to see you real soon.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, ciao for
Bye.
now. Thanks
Bye.
everyone for joining.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.